Hey guys, it's Shay. 25 minutes left on Wednesday, so if I can get this out 8 and online in 25 minutes, I'm totally not late. Big week in our house. We have been, well, culling is awfully harsh, but we've been handing out all our puppies and, you know, sending everybody off to their new homes and stuff, and so we're finally down to 6 dogs for the first time in what feels like ever, forever and ever and ever. And I know 6 dogs still sounds like a lot, but you have to remember that our biggest dog weighs, I think, 7.5 pounds. So 6 feels ridiculously little. You know, like, we go to let them in, and I'm standing there counting, I'm like, that took 30 seconds, like, that's just not right, you know. Nothing is messed up. My cleaning level has gone way down. Everybody's house trained. This is just wonderful. It's been lonely. And so much quieter than I realized. Miss the babies. But their new owners are having a really, really, really good time with them. So, it's for a good cause. Also, my senior art show is on Friday, and it's gone, the prep is, it's interesting. I did not realize that I would enjoy setting up a show so much, so I think it's kind of been illuminating on another possible job for post-college life. It's just been really fun, you know, like getting artwork together and arranging it and making it look pretty and all that stuff. Just, I don't know, working with people who are not as emotionally invested in the show is a little challenging, as it always is, but I don't know, it's just been really satisfying for me to, you know, to see all the hard work paying off, and I don't know, it's really gratifying to see, like, all the hours and hours and hours that we've put into college, and the artwork and stuff is just, you know, to see it up on these walls. I don't know, I guess I just kind of finally feel like a big kid artist, and, you know, on the very first show. It's a good feeling. Alright, so this week, peeves. And it's funny, because I was sitting down trying to think about peeves, and I was like, oh, dude, I'm totally mellow. I don't get angry. And I really don't. Like, I get cranky, but for the most part, I like to think anyways that I'm able to brush it off, and I don't hold a whole lot of grudges. But as soon as I started to write my list down, it just started exploding, and I think the biggest, most noticeable peeve in my life right now is group projects. I also get really cranky when people tell me that having so many dogs means that I can't take care of them properly, or that they're not getting enough love, because there's no way that we can, you know, love that many animals, and it's really upsetting to me, because we do love them very, very much, and trust me, they get ridiculous amounts of attention. Like, I don't know, it's their world. I just kind of perch on the couch in the corner. I don't know, you know, they're my blanket, and they eat my shoes and my socks, and I buy them food and let them in and out, and, you know, all that stuff. But I don't like the rain. I don't like being cold, which is ironic, because here's your official announcement. Gavin and I are moving to Seattle. Well, around Seattle anyways, in August when I graduate. So I guess I'm going to have to learn to like the cold and rain really soon. I'm a foodie, so I really don't like under-seasoned or under-salted food. It's very unpleasant for me, and I feel really awkward about asking for salt. Like, even though that's silly, in a restaurant, it's frustrating, because I feel like it should be cooked well, and at someone's house, it's just embarrassing, because I feel like it's an insult. There's a lot of foodies in my family. I really, really dislike messy people at school, mostly in the art department, and primarily in the sculpture area, because a lot of the sculpture stuff is really messy, and people don't clean up after themselves very well. So I go into work, and then there's just crap left everywhere, and I have to, like, hopefully I'll have noticed it, so I can clean it up before I start working, but a lot of times I didn't notice it, because don't know, just for whatever reason, I didn't notice it was there, and then I put my stuff down on top of it, and I either lose work because I have to start over, or, you know, I just, like, it gets on my stuff, and then I have to clean it off, and it's really frustrating. Yeah, it's very, very agitating. I have this very odd dislike of the color yellow. I think it started as a vanity thing, because it looked like crap in yellow. So then I don't know, it just turned into this weird, like, I just don't want anything to do with the color. In the military, you know, when I worked for a living, I had this friend, and we called her Squiddy, but I remember, well, I was her boss, but I remember the very first time I ever met her, you know, she drove onto base, and then I went to go meet her and, like, escort her to where she was going to be living and stuff, and she got out of her car. She was wearing this bright yellow shirt, and I almost just said, I'm just kidding. I don't like uneducated people that are very vocal with their opinions. I like opinionated people, but I really prefer it when they're educated and they're willing to spend time looking into the stuff they talk about. I love debating, I really do. And I read world news every single day just because I don't know, I like to know what's going on. So, I don't know. Now, I was in line at the post office on Monday, and the people behind me were talking about Cyprus, you know, and their financial collapse recently, and they were talking about how America would just never settle for that. And somebody else was like, oh yeah, especially in Texas, you know, Texas would just never ever do that. Not Texas. And I was just like, oh my god, seriously? And then somebody else was like, well, you know, I don't know, our banks just can't do that. And I finally turned around and said, have you ever even heard of FDIC? And they're all like, excuse me, you have a mohawk. What are these things you're talking about? And I'm like, oh my god, judgmental. Man, I don't know. Be opinionated. I like opinions. I just get frustrated when people have no idea what they're talking about, and they're very, very vocal. I hate junk email forwards. Especially, example, there's one floating around right now that talks about how there's some coin, and they took off some inscription, and it's scandalous, you know, because the government hates America, and it hates everything, and, you know, somebody's a communist, blah, 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 and therefore, if you don't forward this, then kittens are gonna die, and Tinkerbell might not live, and the world is ending. So, you should forward it. There's this really, really sweet little lady, a friend of mine, she's like her 80s, I think, and she really likes forwards, junk forwards, so most of the time, I'll look it up for her, Snopes, at minimum, and I will email her the correct information and send it back, and she says, like, oh, you're so sweet, thank you. I'm like, here's Snopes, www, like, just do this yourself, hey, you got this, you're smart, you can do it. It's just frustrating. That's okay. Well, yeah, see, like I said, I do get, apparently I have peeves. So, for actual trans stuff, I get really frustrated when people, trans or partners, or cisgendered people, I just get really frustrated when people, I guess, put a label on other people within the community, and it could be actually any kind of label, really, but specifically in my head, I'm thinking about how they decide that someone is not trans enough because they don't fit, you know, the speaker's definition of what being trans is, be it, I don't know, you know how some people think you have to have surgery and you have to take hormones in order to count, and then other people say you have to do this and this and this to count, and other people say, well, if you didn't have severe crippling dysphoria from the time you were, you know, a year and a half, then you're not trans enough. And it's just, everybody's life is different, and everybody has a different path, so it's just very frustrating for me when there's, you know, gender policing and saying you're not trans enough from within our own community, you know. We should support each other and not tear each other down, because I feel like there's enough of that happening from outside of our world. I get very frustrated within the partner community for passing on the rules of their relationship to other people, or maybe not passing on necessarily, but enforcing would probably be more what I'm going for, because on the Sweethearts Facebook page, you know, we'll discuss back and forth, like, somebody, I don't know, you know, they have some trans type question, and then somebody else who's experienced it also will write in and be like, oh yeah, this is what we did. And that's awesome, because if you've already gone through it and I haven't, I really appreciate the advice. But my relationship is also unique and different from yours, so while I appreciate the advice, it might not work for us, and I might try it, but I'm not gonna, you know, use that as the golden rule, and that's not the end-all be-all for me, so it's just, yeah, it's frustrating to me. And you would think, you know, because they're just friendly suggestions, you would think it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but then there are some people that get really angry when they're not followed or listened to, or, you know, or they think that their way is the only way to do things, and, you know, stuff like that. It's just really frustrating to me. I just feel like me and Gavin and I are the only people that get to decide what happens in our relationship, what our dynamic is, what we call each other, how we talk to each other, the way we treat each other. We're the only people that get to decide that, because we're the only people in this relationship. So I just get really frustrated when people try to tell me how I should behave in our relationship, because you're not here and it's not your life. So, good or bad, this is mine. And it seems like a strange thing to have to ask for respect and privacy for, but it comes up a lot, probably more than you realize, where, I guess where partners or trans guys will attempt to dictate to other couples how they think it should be. Like, I've heard of a lot of people who, you know, in a couple, and then somebody started tea, and then I've heard about a lot of single trans guys will say, well, your relationship's fucked anyways, it's never going to work, so you might as well just ditch her right now. And I just, even though, hey, video, sorry, Gavin just popped out. So, you know, they'll say just break up with her right now and save the heartache, and I'm sorry your relationship didn't work out, but that does not mean that the one you're talking about won't, you know, so it's just, bear in mind it's not your relationship, and while you can give advice, it's still not your relationship. So I think I'm rambling now, and I hope you guys have a good night, / morning / afternoon, or whatever, and then we'll talk to you guys next week. Yes. Bye, good night.